Our next speaker is the infamous or famous, depending upon your point of view, Frank Watson, the Aussie webmaster. He's been around a while, and anybody that's attended any conferences, particularly SES, would be familiar with him. He spoke for many years at SES conferences. He was director of online marketing for FXCM. He was a moderator and forum editor for many years on the Search Engine Watch forums. He's been the director of business development for Webmaster Radio FM, and he was also the affiliate marketing manager at Namecheap, the senior SEO strategist for Master Electronics, and of course, he's the co-founder and CEO of Conglomerate Media. So, long story short, Frank's been there, he's done that, and he knows how it's done. And he's going to talk to us today about link building. The good, the bad, and the effective. And I'll tell you, when you listen to anybody talk about link building, if you're not listening to Frank as part of that conversation, you're really missing out, because he's done some things where they supposedly couldn't be done. I've been following him for a couple of years and only had the blessing to get to know him a little bit over the last several months. He's probably forgotten more than I will ever know about SEO in general, and certainly about link building, because that's not a field I play in.
Damn, that's a hell of a thing to live up to there, mate.
Well, you can handle it. And with that, I'm gonna turn the talking stick over to you, mate.
Okay. Now, I just don't know how this how my presentation panel is showing.
Should be coming up.
Okay.
Okay, I see you on screen one. So, all right, yeah, I see you and your screen share. So it looks like we're good. You're good to go, man.
Okay. The only problem is, how do I share it?
You will probably. It's already shared.
Well, how do I get to the next slide?
Whatever you're using, is it PowerPoint, or you'll have to manually advance it?
Yeah, hold on. Now I got to find it again. That's weird. Of course. Now I bring the problems, which kind of sucks. Here we go. Okay. So basically, I mean, the one part of SEO that the vast majority of us really hate doing is link building. It's something that needs to be done. Personally, when you come down to the bad, I really don't think there is one. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a look at some of the good stuff. We'll have a look at what people consider bad, because there's ways of working around them, and what's effective. So to start, don't tell. Oh, hold on.
Thinking about getting links from article marketing, widgets, footers, themes, etc. Yeah, I'm really glad to talk about current thinking, which is about the same.
Is everyone else getting the echo? Doc?
Yeah, I did.
Well, that sucks.
Probably your mic's picking up your speaker.
Okay, I mean, the sad part about it is most of the people that would have been in the business for the last 15 years would have seen this very famous Matt Cutts talking about link building. This goes back to, I think this is from about 2006, if not a little older. And basically, he talks about what makes decent links. And it's specifically around those days when a lot of people were creating widgets that, people put on their websites to do calculations and things like that. And then they were embedding a link in the bottom of the widget. And a lot of the times it was to things that had nothing to do with the widget. So Matt came out and said, those obviously are not going to get any influence, but the ones that actually are helpful and that provide a link to a page around the same sort of topic and content were valid. And I still haven't seen anything that contradicts that right now. I mean, if you're in a specific industry that you can grab a some sort of tool or widget that calculates something for your industry, so long as you're pointing it into your own content or to another page that for another site that you're trying to build up, that they work. But you've got to keep, and this is something you're going to hear me say quite a bit, you got to keep it relevant. Okay, where the hell did I get with this?
Matt from Mountain View asks,
So the first thing you want to do about links is understand that Google knows that we manipulate things. So, I mean, they look for what they consider to be natural backlinks. So you can read this. I got this from a very good friend that most of us know, Adam. He does a lot of SEO and a lot of affiliate marketing. So, he's really had to look into the value and what gets considered a natural backlink. Something that's editorial, something that people are linking to you that doesn't have parameters on the end of it, doesn't have UTM source, or doesn't have JavaScript that redirects you, that type of stuff. Those Google already sees now. So they know. They're looking for those very clean, natural links that go to different places.
Matt, let me pause you for a moment there, Frank.
Yeah.
We're getting some feedback that an attendee is not seeing your screen share. And they just said now it's showing.
Okay. It might have been the video panel.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So you want to look for what are natural links, link buildings around that. And let's go into what I consider the good. And if not, I'm really into barbecue now, so that's my form of smoking. So the things to look for when you start doing link building is the relevance of the content. You want to make sure that wherever it is that you're getting links from are coming from pages that are talking about different types of information that are relevant and related to what they're linking to. The other, things to look out for are what Google unfortunately calls bad neighborhoods. Now, bad neighborhoods are generally can come from a server that's hosting other websites that have got bad reputations to Google, but yours doesn't. You've got to be careful with that because Google tends to see a group of websites that have 3 or 4 of them are doing some what they consider shady things, and you're trying to do something decent. You're going to have a hard time, not necessarily getting a penalty, but what happens a lot, and this is something that industry-wide we really should be concentrating on, is that we just need to be able to be aware of what is happening around us and to, provide the best possible area. So, I mean, if you look into a site that you want to get a link from, have a look at what they're doing to monetize. Obviously, if they've got something on their website that says, we sell links, you know that there's not going to be a value. And that's it. Google's not necessarily going to beat you over the head. They're just not going to give any influence to any of the links that you've built if they consider them to be spammy. Where do you find them? I like looking through the competitors. I avoid anyone that is trying to hand me things in footers or site-wides. And my new go-to has been looking for expired domains. And that also I'll touch on buying old domains that are already out there that you may pay a few extra dollars for, but because of the value of them, their aging, the value of the links, the fact that they have incoming traffic at the moment, and they rank for things that you're looking for, those are considerations that you want to look at if you're going to buy a domain. This, you're going to have to read through yourselves, guys. I went through a bit of it, what a bad neighborhood is, the bad links, too many external links, web pages, those old days of having 100 links or 200 links out to something. Unless you're a directory, they're really not going to place any value. And again, you may not get penalized, but the value of any of those links coming off of that website is going to be minimal at best because of the equation, but also minimal because Google's going, this is all these guys do. The same thing if the pages have got way too many ads on them, if the content's poorly written. Those sort of things factor in quite a bit. And obviously, if the links are unrelated. So how do we check for that? You want to check any site that you're going to get a link from to see what it looks like. You can have, when I was saying about the bad neighborhoods, you can go through the IP of the hosting with YouGetSignal, and it'll show you the other domains that are in there. So you can go and check them out, have a look at what they're like. If you're going to buy a domain, have a look at what their old content was, especially for expired ones. You can go into archive.org and have a look at what was up there previously, because that's what Google is going to have associated to that particular website and any links from it, or if you actually forward that site to yours to take advantage of any of the links that were coming into that domain. So you want to check what sites are linking to the domains, ones you buy, and ones you get links from. You also want to have a look at what they have, again, like I'm saying about selling links. Look in their media kits, see what's in there. Because, Google now has the individual quality control guys that are looking through a lot of this stuff, so they're going to pull it up as well. You want to avoid the link sellers. I'm no doubt virtually every single one of you that's listening to me or watches this later has been inundated with emails through LinkedIn from, it's amazing the size of the number of people that have links to sell on there. And also have a look. Directories, while they don't have the lift that they used to, are ones that that Google considers to have value, especially the old school best of the web. The boys that I knew that owned it have sold it, and it seems like they're keeping the integrity of what was there in the past. So you want to have a look and be careful about the directories. But there are other directories like organizations, business groups that like the Better Business Bureau or the Consumer Affairs or the city town hall association or whatever you want to do. Those work because they anchor you into location, they anchor you into what your business is, so they work pretty well. I particularly also like links that are using visual effects, that are images and video and things like that have the links there, especially the fact that you want to avoid what Penguin was originally created for, where you want to rank for a particular term. So you go, okay, all my inbound links are going to have that as anchor text. Those days are long gone. And if you try to do that, that's where you'll end up getting a penalty, because it's obvious that you're in particular doing the black hat or the shady action because it's repeated. And while it's what's going to happen, and again, everyone believes that you do the wrong thing and Google's going to just automatically give you a penalty. A lot of the cases with links, that's not true. What's happening, and it's got to be really egregious for them to be dropping you out of the index and giving you a manual penalty, or at least one that's going to last for a very long time. They're just not doing it because we know that negative SEO, your competitors could be going out and doing this for you. So what they're doing is they're downplaying the actual value that those links have. So you're going to be putting in a lot of work. And as everyone that's listening to this that's done any link building, it is boring and tedious stuff to do. So what you're looking for are editorial links that are just clean, that come back to you because the people that read your content like what it is. So you've got to think a little creatively. So one of my best ways, and it's interesting, I had a conversation or a message chat on Facebook around this concept, and I got a little bit of pushback on it. I have the ability to go out and I interview university professors within the niche that I'm trying to build links for. What you do is you interview them, you write the content, you put, because the content's going to be around what your website is about. You're just reaching out to a university professor or someone of note to quote, so that then when you've finished and put up the article, you send an email with the article link in it. And a lot of times you're going to find that those people, especially university where it's, publish or perish, they'll add that link to their CVs because, here it is. I'm being, if I'm not necessarily writing about something, I'm here and I've been interviewed and I've given my opinion. So it adds to the authority of the professor and actually a little to the university. And you don't have to restrict yourself just to universities. You can do it for anyone that is seen as an authority within any particular industry, like a master griller. If I'm building links for BitBoss, then what I'll do is I'll reach out to well-known like Bobby Flay and people like that and try to get them. The other one area that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail is I also like to buy out expired domains. You get expired domains with your keywords or that have your keywords in anchor text and on particular pages. That has proven to be really effective. But the thing is, you can't let it happen. You can't buy a domain that's been dead for 2 years. You want to look through the tools that are out there to be able to find things that have dropped off like a day or two ago, where you still have the opportunity of getting them and them being listed in the search results. So therefore, when you redirect those pages, that traffic will come to you as well. So buying older expired domains. We know that you can buy domains that people have spent time with and then they're about ready to give it up. And some of those domains go for a lot of money. But, you can find within niches and through various tools when people are looking to sell their domains and what they're priced at. And you've got to do some research on it to see how many pages they have in an index, what link structure, what inbound links they have. Those things you can check relatively simply if it is an age domain that's already out there. So you can do the site semicolon domain in Google search, and it'll show you how many pages are in the index. You can then run it through one of the tools like link research tools and see whether or not it has a lot of toxic links and things like that. But like I say, there's a certain amount of risk involved when you're buying old domains. But if you go through some of the procedures, the ones that I mentioned before, and have a look through the Wayback Machine, archive.org, and check out what was there previously, you should be doing okay. Now, I use the.domain.name. It's a platform that's run by Jason Duke, who a lot of the older SEOs will know really well. He was the CEO over at Party Gaming. So it gives you an interface. And a lot of people, once you go over there, they look for a deposit of a minimal amount of money because the process costs money. And you'll buy something. And if you're not, the minimal amount you put forward is going to show you at least some information on what domains are out there, what the potential is. And for 10 or 20 euros or whatever, it's not a bad investment to be able to go to. So you have this interface, but once you've paid and you're in, they give you the ability to filter it through the anchor and the keyword anchors, also domains. This side can change into a bunch of different areas. It gives you the ability to filter from those gambling, porn, etc. websites so that none of that comes up, and it's at least filtering a little bit of shadiness out for you. And it also gives you the ability to limit the number of links that it gets from particular C blocks. You obviously want to look, you don't want to buy something that has a lot, says it has 1,000 inbound links, but 900 of them are coming from one website. So this will give you the ability to filter that and get a deeper idea of the number of links and the number of different C blocks, etc., that they're on. So once you've done that, you've either bought a domain that is still around, or you bought an expired domain. That helps. The next area that I go to is I have a look at where my competitors are getting their links. Now, like the list says here, I use Ahref, and there's a lot more tools out there. I use Ahref, SEMrush, and link research tools to do the homework for me. Now, it automatically pulls up where those inbound links are coming from, and you can go through them. They'll give you, in the various ways that they measure toxicity or value, etc., page authority. So you can do some searching. With Ahref, you can put in a few, put your own at the bottom, so that you know that these are websites that are getting links from places that you're not, and it helps not having to download a list and then compare it to your own, etc. This will do the filtering for you, which is pretty cool. And then deeper, you can filter it by do follow, no follow, various other factors. So, and grouping them, which comes in really handy. Now with SEMrush, they have their own backlinks and that analytics tool as well that works really well. Link research tools, which has been around for a long time. Christoph is a good friend, but this product has been really well used by a lot of international SEOs based in Europe. So, but it'll show you, where the competitors' good links are coming from. Filters with toxicity and all those sort of terms. But this will give you some really clean competitor links to reach out to. So the bad, they're actually, in my opinion, really, really bad links. Because again, as I had said earlier, if Google was penalizing us for those links, then I know I would be, and a bunch of you listening and a bunch of my friends that have been doing this for a number of years would be doing a lot more negative SEO against our competitors. So while the particular links that you get may have a little bit of impact, what happens is they just don't pass any value. So you're spending a lot of time for nothing. What you can do, though, is you want to be aware of your broken links. That's beyond just the ones that are your internal broken links. You want to have a look at anyone who's linking to you who is creating a 404. Doesn't have any value, but there's a lot of those out there. Screaming Frog will help you find some of those. And it's a really good way of cleaning up the work that people have done already. So it's something to keep in mind. And then I do this as well. I use Broken Link Checker. It's a Chrome extension, especially if there are places that have links for a lot of your competitors or a lot of related industry websites. I run that each of their pages that has any sort of directory or any sort of linking to other people to see if any of those are 404. And for the fact that they may have some of their own internal links that have turned into 404s, but running that through and getting that really quick report, you can send that out in an email to the company saying like, hey, I was on your site. I work in the industry that's mentioned on this page. I found that there are a lot of broken links, and please find attached a couple of documents that'll show you where you've got a number of broken links that are obviously hurting your authority because you're pointing to places that no longer exist. Good thing to keep in mind. And here we go. The disavowing toxic links. I really, really do believe that this is it's an overplayed procedure. Google, in and of itself, as I say here, they understand that you're going to get a mixture of different types of links. We're all going to end up with one or two that are from shady places. We're going to have some that come from places that have got nothing to do with what our industry is, because it could be something that, let's say a lawn care guy likes barbecue, and he comes across something and he just happens to, put a link on places he likes. And you see a lot of those sort of things on people's websites, and he links to you. That may not have the relevance and the contextual value, but Google expects you to have some of these. While, if you're 100% clean, they think you're manipulating it, just like if you didn't have very much going for you at all. Now, there are some bad links, but like I said, you're not going to get penalized for them, because otherwise the biggest industry in the biggest niche in our industry rather would be negative SEO. And so, each to his own on how you want to do that one, but it's not something that you have to overly worry about. It's the same thing when Penguin rolled out, where people just had way too many. The anchor text were all the same words, because those were the 2 or 3 keywords that they wanted to really rank well for. And then Penguin came through and found it. How did you get around that? Well, you could have changed some of the anchor text, but a lot of the cases you just got more links that were a lot more diverse. That was when I first started buying domains, is when, okay, I need to buy a bunch of domains that are somewhat close to what we were doing, and then just point them and any links that pointed to them to us, so that now that percentage of what Google saw as repeated anchor text started to get diluted, and the percentage of them came down. And we were given 3 months knowledge about Penguin coming down the pike before it actually happened. And that was the one thing that got discussed with a bunch of people, and that's how a lot of people got around not getting hit with those early Penguin penalties. So now, if you want to find resource pages, this, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, and this is around everywhere, but it's ways of doing searches in Google that will get you pages to find places to potentially get links from. In the keyword section, obviously, it's the keyword that you want to try and rank for, and the industry that you're in. Don't try to be that specific for the keywords. Look at it more as an industry general keyword, and then use these other keyword, in the search, and they'll bring you up different places to have a look for places to find links from. This really works, and hopefully, if you haven't seen this before, it's something that you can sit back and try, and all of a sudden say, oh, okay, because these are places you can find to then approach people about potentially getting links, and whether you run their pages through the broken, find their 404s for them, or you have another pitch that you've used to reach out to literally strangers and ask them to link to your website without saying, how much is it going to cost type thing. These work well and gives you a variety. So, like we mentioned earlier, and that Matt Cutts has said, some of the ways that you can also do it is to develop various types of tools. Another way is writing testimonials. And I'm sure that there are a bunch of you that get approached for writing testimonials for various industry tools, websites, that sort of thing, that are in our industry, that are in the industries that you're starting to do work for, or the owner of the business that you're doing SEO for, that you want to do link building for, he can do the testimonial for an associated website or product or service. And most of the times the person's name and who they are and a link to where they, what their website is usually included. or at least in the decent testimonials, and look for them specifically so that you can see what's going on. Again, looking for niched and general industry directories is a really effective way, because those are the things that are expected. Joining business groups and getting in general industry directories, Google expects that. It's, part of that is the process that you're going to work when you're trying to improve your local SEO, trying to improve your presence in Google My Business. These sort of things work. Also, Harrow, help a reporter out. I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that have been using this for quite a while. It's a website you can reach out to and offer help. And a lot of times they'll have a list of types of people in different industries that they're looking to interview for stories. So, again, it's a newspaper, so it has credibility, and it's something to pursue. I also like getting social media profiles. While they, in and of themselves, may not be related to the niche that you're working in, just having them, because they're recognized, your Facebook and your LinkedIn and the more prominent ones we're aware of, but knowem.com is a really good tool for finding you all sorts of different places that you can sign on to, create your profile, and the vast majority of the sites that they have on this list give you a place to link to your website. It doesn't matter if the majority of them are no follow, it has value. It's like citations. Over time it's going to build. And it gives you the ability here, you can see the blogging ones at first, but it diversifies the different areas that you can look into. And they're pretty broad stroked categories. So a lot of the industries that you work in are going to be covered somewhat in here, and you can have some duplication. So I think I might have flown through this pretty quickly, but the good doesn't mean easy. You're going to have to put in a hell of a lot more work finding good quality link places than you are actually to find the bad. Those things, while I don't believe they're as bad as possible, they are the most prevalent link sources that are out there. And then the effective is, you just really want to look at where you are, what you need, and then make a list of what's going to be most effective through the methods that I laid out for you to start first. Because link building is something that you're going to have to do constantly. It's just like keeping your content fresh and being aware of changes in Google's algorithm. You really do want to be in link building to be an ongoing process. And whether you particularly end up doing it or you're going to assign it to someone, have them work an hour or two a day as part of everything else that they do. Impact on what the content topic's going to be, that type of thing. Places where you check your rankings for particular keywords and find that, let's say you're ranking at 11, but you also have pages that are on 20 to 30 or 50. Getting those pages up is going to be a hell of a lot harder. But if you use those pages as internal links to your best linking page, that will help as well. So, you want to just keep an eye on everything and be aware that it's an ongoing process. So none of this is a secret, and I'm sure Doc's going to be sharing it with everyone once we're done. If you have any questions, I'm here, and I can close this panel down, but I'll leave it up for the moment. And do we have any questions?
We do have one. Well, actually, we got a couple. Kind of a two-pronged question from Steve. What percentage of the SEO budget would you recommend specifically for link building? Or maybe better phrase, what should a website owner expect to pay for dedicated link building in terms of a price range?
Well, it's going to vary depending on what type of website it is, what sort of business it is. If you're a local lawn care service or a hairdresser or a local car dealer, even where there's a little bit more money involved, that's something that, like I said, you put an hour or two in, you have someone, or you outsource it for a certain amount. And if you are going to outsource link building, you've got to do it based on how many links, whether or not they're providing content or there's a number of factors, but it's like an advertising budget. If you're a small company, maybe you've got $300 or $400 a month, like $100 a week to put in to slowly over time improve your ranking. You want to at least get someone to come in and do an initial audit or run your own thing through one of the tools that are out there so that you can have an idea of what you need. Someone that's never done it but's heard that link building is what you need to raise your website into good prominence. There are a lot of people out there like on LinkedIn that'll sell you 1 million links that don't do anything. So you need someone you need to initially have someone look at your site and come up with legitimate suggestions for you.
Good point.
That's where I was but on the other hand, when I was working at FXCM, where we were spending between $1 and $2 million a month just on AdWords, we had a lot of money to buy links. And especially in the early 2000s, it was there. There were directories. There was a Yahoo directory for $300 a year, and there was the Botware, and then there were industry places, and they were all feed driven, which was fine, and they still are. The quality directories are generally going to cost you a little bit to get into, but if you're not there, and your competitors are, it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it depending on the size of your industry, what industry it is in particular. That's more of a determining factor about how much to spend, but you're going to need to spend it consistently over time. I hope that answered the question, Steve.
Here's one from somebody whose name you may recognize, Donna. How effective is buying expired domains? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yes, absolutely. But the thing is, again, you don't want to buy crap. You want to buy something that hasn't been expired for a long time. That's why I like, the domain.name, is because they tell you when it fell off. They literally get the list through an API at midnight in California, seems to be the shut-off time. And then you're aware of what's out there. But I mean, if it's been sitting around for a year or two, it's not going to have a lot of value unless you're going to resurrect it with all the content. And there are services out there that do it. TDN does. But yeah, you want to look at the age. You want to look at, you can go into archive.org and see what content was there. So you can resurrect that content relatively easy. So expired domains have value, especially if they're, anchor text to what your industry is.
Okay. Another one.
You can't find more of it, You can't buy 3 different versions of the same domain name unless you're doing it with, different TLDs.
Sure. Another question from Barbara Gilbert. Do you recommend using companies that offer to submit your press release to various print publications, like hundreds of print publications?
Only if they also have an online publication. Offline, literally paper isn't anything that's going to engage with the internet. But if they happen, and even if they say we'll do it to 100 and only 15 or 20 of them actually have an online version as well, then you're buying for the 20. You're not really,
Yeah.
It's a good form of advertising for small businesses and community newspapers and things like that. But don't expect it to have any impact on your website.
I'd agree with that. And Brian Nelson asks, is there any situation in which you do a backlink disavow? What percentage of links to a domain would have to be toxic for you to consider doing a disavow?
I mean, you can get. I mean, if you're getting web, and it's amazing that I've seen in different industries that I've worked, very reputable websites. For example, Honeywell. Honeywell has a pile of inbound links that are coming from porn sites. I'm sure they didn't go out and get them themselves. I'm sure someone that, a bunch of years ago thought that this negative SEO might work and, did it. But they've been there for years and they don't really care. Those sort of things you can clean up. They're not toxic so much as, it's like, really? Why bother? So, I mean, at least the only thing I like about submitting toxic links is Google sees that you're trying to do something. So there's the possibility that by submitting toxic links, you may get a lift in authority because you're showing that you're trying to do the right thing to Google. I don't know whether that's true, but that would be the main reason I would submit toxic links.
Yeah, I haven't done a disavow in a few years now, except in a situation where there was a manual action for outbound links.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, for inbound links. And I have thought, okay, if I came across a client that had 100,000 inbound and 80,000 of them were trash, porn, pills, casino, I would probably do one, but I haven't faced that. But
yeah, and like I said, yes, you can. I think, but again, I think that while you're doing the disavow, the value in it to me is more that Google sees that you're doing the right thing. If you've gotten a manual penalty for those, I mean, those type of penalties, if you're doing the right thing and sending in the disavow list, you go, here you go. And if you don't bounce back, that's, Google not doing the right thing. Because realistically, you could have sent them to me or I could have sent them to you if we were competitors. And, for long-term impact, that would just be criminal.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you make the effort to clean them up, and they don't have any value, so they're just clutter. They give you a false indication when you're trying to look at your numbers and things like that of your inbound links and etc. So cleaning those out gives you a better idea of what's going on. Because a lot of the time, you think you've got someone doing link building for you and they're adding 3 or 4 quality links, but because somewhere along the way you bought a link that every time a new page comes up, like a footer link, boom, so all of a sudden you see yourself getting 500 new links this week, but that's because you've got 500 footer links that aren't worth the pinch of anything.
I'd agree with that. No, I think you're spot on. The best you're going to hope for normally is just going to be Google giving you a pat on the head. You're trying to do the right thing. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I don't get many pats on the head, so I'll take it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And one of the things I mentioned in the presentation is you've got to pick what you're going to do. You can't do it all at once unless you're going to hire a huge team and this, that, and the other. So I mean, I would have toxic links pretty far down, things for me to do as opposed to outreach, as opposed to looking for, broken links within my own website or, people that are linking to me with broken links. All those things would come up first in the process before I would possibly do anything to get toxic links disavowed.
Agreed. Well, Frank, as always, you brought gold. We really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, I seriously hope that people grab the slides and look at some of the stuff, and I'm sure the vast majority are already done a bunch of the stuff, and that's the reason why I jump in on sessions, is because while I may know 5 or 6 of the things that the people are talking about, those 2 or 3 things that I'd heard about but didn't know enough about gives me the opportunity to pick those tips up, and that's why I tried to lay out different tools and different ways of looking at things.
Well, you definitely made some mention of some things that I had not thought of, at least in a long time. So
yeah,
always worthwhile. I think we're gonna go into a break now. Very much appreciate your time and your effort, both in sharing your
No
time with us,
problem.
but also in the time that I know it takes to put something like that together.